Joe, we good?
No, not yet. There it is.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Roll call. They're all here. Ron. Welcome. All right, rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, going right into it, I need a motion to approve the Facilities Committee meeting minutes of December 12th, 2022, the tax levy hearing meeting minutes of December 12th, 2022, the regular board meeting minutes of December 12th, 2022, the Negotiations Committee minutes of December 14th, 2022, the Negotiations Committee minutes of December 20th, 2022, Finance Committee meeting minutes of December 28th, 2022, Negotiations Committee minutes of December 28th, 2022, Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of January 4th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Flores?
Yes.
Belt?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Pallmeyer?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. I need a motion to approve the Negotiations Committee meeting minutes of December 14th, 2022. Actually, these are executive, correct?
Yes, they're all executive.
All executive, okay, I'm just reading through this. These are all to approve executive session meeting minutes of the Negotiations Committee minutes of December 14th, 2022, the Negotiations Committee minutes of December 20th, 2022, the Negotiation Committee minutes of December 28th, 2022, and the Negotiations Committee minutes of January 4th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Belt?
Yes.
Missouri?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Pallmeyer?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the January 2023 expenses as submitted. Please note the additional bills that we received tonight. So moved.
Second.
Missouri?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Pappas?
Yes.
Pallmeyer?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Belt?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we need to hear from Mr. Peters.
All right. Balance in the super now account as of December 31st was $397,301.77. Outstanding checks at month end totaled $25,080.98. December payroll carryover expense $1142.44, giving the adjusted bank balance at $371,7835. Lunch program balance $47,817.54. Impressed fund $5,000, totaling $423,895.89. The investments finished the month at $7,550,048.16, leaving the balance of all funds as of December 31st at $7,973,944.05. December receipts received were $1,217,084.57. Expenses came in at $1,157,425.84. Individual fund balances: education fund $5,220,518.83. Building fund $732,751.33. Bond and interest negative $74,261.86. Transportation fund $827,979.60. IMRF $286,714.85. Working cash fund $178,680.80. Tort fund $218,017.97, and life safety $583,542.53. Interest earned in December was $757.73. Distributions from the state: the normal state aid of $265,918, state free lunch $120.06, School lunch program, $12,099.20. Special milk, $10.76. Driver's ed reimbursement, $2,112.83. And IDEA SOIC room and board, $37,835. And we got the 10th real estate distribution for $135,281.07. And that's it.
Any questions for Mr. Peters? All right, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Palmeyer.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, I did not receive anything for public comment tonight, so we will move into staff reports. Mrs. Black.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, I really don't need you. Okay. Thanks.
I just.
What do I push? This is so fancy, Dr. Dean.
The next one.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be presenting our last year's school data. So, pretty exciting stuff. Just as a reminder, last school year, we tested the same way we have the last few years. The only testing options were given. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade all test online with Chromebooks. And for our 5th grade Illinois Science Assessment, our 5th graders use their Chromebooks as well. If we look here, this is our science assessment data. I have data from last year because we didn't report last year. So I have last year's data and this year's data. Last year, the state average was 43%. We had 30% of our students meeting and exceeding. And so that 2 years ago, last year the state average was 51%. We had 44% of our students meeting and exceeding. So clearly not where we would like to be, but definitely some growth has been made over those 2 years. It's kind of the moral of a lot of our slides, as you'll see. Not where we would like to be, but moving in the right direction, and we have plans for how we're going to increase our scores. So, again, this is last year. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade put together. Later, you'll see I have each grade level broken down. But the state reports BES as a whole. For ELA, if you look at the category 4 and 5, that's what the state considers to be meeting or exceeding. So that number 4 is meeting and 5 is exceeding. So for ELA, we have 27% of our students meeting and exceeding. For math, we have 19% of our students meeting and exceeding as a whole. Looking at different grade levels for 3rd grade, so that's our current 4th grade students. So last year's 3rd grade scores, we had 24% of our students that were meeting or exceeding in ELA, and we had 25% of our students that were meeting or exceeding in math. 4th grade, we had 33% of our students who were meeting or exceeding in ELA, and 14% of our students who were meeting or exceeding in math. Again, that was 4th grade, so these are our current 5th graders. Looking at 5th grade, so now our 6th graders, we had 25% of our students in ELA that were meeting or exceeding, and we had 19% of our students in math meeting expectations. So here, as I've typically done in the past, this kind of shows where we are at in various schools. So the state average for ELA scores were 30% of our students meeting and exceeding, and those of you who have been on the board for a few years, you know that's far lower than the normal state average of meeting and exceeding. Clearly COVID has affected that, and none of the norms of any tests have been adjusted in any way, so that's why the state average is at 30. If you look at the bar graph, just to kind of put it a little bit easier to see perspective, the first bar there is the state average, the second bar is Beecher, and then the rest of them are other area schools. So again, not where we would like to be, but comparatively so for the area. There's only two schools who scored above us in ELA. Again, nowhere near where we want to be, but it's a huge hit that everybody in the area has taken on this test.
Can I ask a question, just so we have
Sure.
frame of reference? The kids who are in kindergarten and first grade, where they're establishing the baseline, the foundation, the kids that were missed half the year in 2020, and then, online, whatever, how old are those kids now?
Those are third grade.
Those are third grade.
Third
So
grade.
we're looking at that, so they haven't registered yet? So,
Correct,
okay.
correct.
So these kids that we're looking at were in second, third, and fourth? when
Correct.
that- Okay.
So again, there are ELA, and then I have the same slide for math. The state average for math was 26, Beecher was 18. ELA, we were a little bit closer, we were only a point below. Math, we're quite a bit below where we would like to be. Again, you can kind of see that first bar is the state average, the second bar is where Beecher's at. And if you went through, we're exactly in the middle. There are 4 area schools that are above us, 4 area schools that are below us when we look at math scores.
And this, I'm not surprised, because with the math, where you're setting up those strong foundations in like second and third grade to be going through the pandemic then, that's why I think we see more in
Well,
this too.
and also math is so much more skill-based. So with reading, once you have some of those foundational reading skills, you're learning how to read faster and, you're not missing complete skills. Like with math, when you're not there, you're missing complete skill sets that you aren't accessing.
It's hard to build upon something you don't have, especially math.
Exactly.
Like, they can't do basic multiplication, so when they're in 5th grade, they can't multiply and divide decimals because they don't know basic facts. Like, yeah, math is rough, so.
You wouldn't know.
And again, you can see even across the board with other schools, and just, looking at, the other averages, math was definitely harder hit. And typically when I go back and look at the data that we have since I've been here, since I was creating reports, and clearly there were lots of times where our scores looked much better. Math was always lower than reading. It always has been that way. And again, that's still when we were in a good place and we
Right.
were still above the state average, but math has always been an area that's been historically lower than our ELA scores. So really, the important part is how we're going to move forward from here and what our plans are. So we had some staff meetings before break. We spent some time talking today as a staff as well. And, sorry, this is a little bit harder to read. Overall, when our scores were in a good place, we didn't have to sit down and analyze and look at scores as much because we were comfortable with where we were at. Right now, we're not. So we need to spend a little bit more time really looking at and analyzing those scores and that data in ways that we haven't done before. That's one of the things that we started before break, something that we started today as well. Moving forward, definitely something that we would like to start doing earlier in the year. So once the teachers get to know their students, so end of September, beginning of October, dive into those scores a little bit more than we have had to do in the past. Also, this year we do have some common teacher plan time where we're able to incorporate special education teachers, our reading specialists in meetings with our teachers so they're able to talk on a weekly basis about student growth and any concerns that they have with students right away. We've been able to, again, that's a change that we've made that we're able to do this year to hopefully get people talking about student needs as soon as possible, not having to wait 2 weeks for an RTI meeting. We can talk every week and have the people we need around the table talking about that. Also, one of the reports that the IAR gives us data as far as how our school has scored in individual content standards. So one of the things we started looking at was not only last year, but historically, even before COVID, we have 3 years worth of data that is available through IAR where we can look at each individual strand and see what areas we've been historically low in. It's good for us to know what we were low in last year, but our student population is so different from year to year that really sometimes looking at just 1 year to say they really struggled with this specific standard, every group is so different. If we can look at that historical data and look over the last 3 years, we're always lower than the state average in this, or we're always right on the cusp in this content area. So we started looking at that and looking at historically where are the areas that were lower, and those are the standards we know that we need to work on and focus on. Also, one of the things that we realized with COVID, not only in testing, but we see it in behavior, we see it in group work in the classroom, the stamina that students had is not where it was before. So really taking the time when we are assessing to make sure that when our students sit down to take the IAR test, it's not the first time they've sat for 90 minutes at one time to take a test. So making sure that those practice tests that we do with students, we're doing them probably more than we did before because we have to build their stamina back up to that level. And IR has kind of released some new old tests that will give us new practice tests that we have because IR, even though, I mean, it hasn't really been out that long, so they're building their bank of things they can give us to practice with. So accessing that and using that. And then the other thing that we talked about, typically, again, since I've been here, we have tested 2 tests a day. So we usually do our IAR testing in a week. So we'll do 1 test in the morning, 1 test in the afternoon, and we do that for 3 days. Usually we'll test on a Monday. We can start makeups on a Friday. But what we have decided to do, since the students' testing stamina isn't where we feel comfortable, instead of doing 2 tests a day, we're going to do 1 test a day to hopefully kind of not burn them out for that second test. So that's our plan overall. With win time this year, our win time, we've allowed a little bit more flexibility over what the grade levels would like their win time to look like. So some grade levels still have 2 win times. Some grade levels have chosen to do 1 longer win time. One of the grade levels has kind of incorporated right into their blocks. So allowing grade levels a little bit more flexibility with that kind of extra time that they have to work with their students. Also in the weeks leading up to IAR, taking some of that win time and focusing on those standards that we know are a little bit lower, and especially in that area of math. You know, we're testing in April. We're not done teaching all of our math for the year. So taking some time and focusing on the skills that we know we haven't taught yet, to be able to try to raise those scores and at least expose, I mean, and we're not expecting mastery because clearly we can't teach everything, but at least exposing students to some of those skills that they're going to see on the test. As far as ELA itself, we're looking at the number of minutes that we teach ELA at each grade level, so we're having conversations with how much time does kindergarten and first grade feel like they need for an ELA block to have the time that they need. One of the things that has been talked about a lot is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade not having enough time for writing. So looking at how we can do that in our schedule. Writing also took the biggest hit when we did have COVID. It's really hard. Writing is the hardest thing to teach to begin with, but it's certainly hard to do that over a computer. And when we did have the luxury of having in-person learning, we were really focusing an hour of math and an hour of ELA. We can't do everything ELA needs, and writing is the thing that kind of fell by the wayside in that. So looking at our schedule for next year of how we can incorporate some more of that writing time and make sure that we're trying to make up for what was lost. And then as far as math, next year is our last year with our current math series. So starting to look at and talking with some of those districts that are doing really good in math, what kind of series are they using, how are they structuring that math time, what does that look like, so when it's time for us to look at a new math series, which it sounds like the 24-25 school year sounds far away, but really when you're talking about curriculum and finding a new series, we need a whole school year, next school year, to really look at that and investigate what's going to work best for us. So we'll be able to start doing that next school year. Some of it at the end of this school year to start getting an idea of what we might want to pilot, and then having all of next year to work with those different things and decide what's going to work best for our school. And then the last thing, after COVID, and really kind of started before COVID, but COVID had a huge glaring light on the fact that we know that math facts are an area that need work. So in almost every one of our grade levels, we've added over the last couple of years a math fluency program. And those math fluency, depending on the grade level, looks a little bit different. Some of our younger grades have rocket math. Some of our older grades have a more online component, but all of our grade levels, we've added a math fact fluency as part of that. the end of that great presentation. Any questions? Again, I know we're not where we want to be. The best thing we can do is plan for how we're going to move those numbers in the right direction.
Yep.
All right?
All right.
Dr. Quasny, I believe, is next.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You have to write step by step on it, like the first.
Cue the Death Star.
And we
This is
use
how I
writing
felt
in
when I
every
did this.
subject.
This is black.
So that can make or break your reading.
I said Dr. Quasny's here is much more dark and ominous. That's how she felt when she was putting it
I said,
together.
oh, we don't know, once we got our data back, it was just being able to write a paragraph. And same thing for math, I said, I, for math,
Poor Mike.
it is literally, they have to type a sentence, step by step, how they do the math. So their one math problem will be paragraphs.
All right,
And that's
whenever you're ready.
dinged.
Good evening, I'm here to share the junior high data. We have some highs and some, I don't want to say lows, but some areas as well. We want to start off with the Illinois Science Assessment, the ISA. Our data from 2021 is 38% of our students met and exceeded, and compared to the state average of 43. And then this past year in 2022, 68% of our students met or exceeded, which is really, really phenomenal.
Yes.
So, and then 51% is the state average. So we were super proud of our students and the staff for all they did to help.
And
the
again,
students
that's the end of elementary too, bringing that up and making up for that loss. So that's huge. Yeah.
Yes, we were really impressed with that. And then I'm going to go back to that last slide I had. I'm going to have better comparison data at the end, so I'm just going to skip it for now. So the sixth grade is a breakdown of each grade level. So for sixth grade for the IAR, those students are our current seventh graders. We have their scores listed here. We had 26 of our students meet or exceed in ELA and 22 meet or exceed in math. As you'll see, our ELA scores across the board are higher than our math scores. However, our math scores really showed a lot of growth, even though they're not where they need to be. So we're moving in the right direction when it comes to math. And ELA kind of hung consistent, roughly, in comparison to last year. Seventh grade IAR scores, and these are our current eighth graders. We had 16% of our students meet or exceed, and 13 in ELA, and 13% for math. So these are those students who tend to struggle more. That's where our supports are needing to be placed. We've already done a few things, which I'll get to towards the end of the presentation, that we've implemented towards the beginning of the year, and then also some for quarter 3 as well. And our eighth grade IAR scores, these are our students who are currently freshmen at the high school. We have 50% of our students met or exceeded, and 18 in ELA, and 18 of our students met or exceeded in math. So those are our highest numbers in terms of our students from last year who were eighth graders. In ELA, that's our highest category. And again, as I already stated, ELA scores are higher across the board, but our math is where we're showing the most growth. So we're doing what we can to boost those up. It is a struggle. They've been missing, a lot of skills from COVID, as all schools in the area are facing, but it's, the extended responses, it's all the different skills with problem solving, in addition to just even their kind of fundamental skills as well. Okay, so here is the ELA area school comparison. You'll see the first bar is the state average, and the state average is 30% for ELA. We are the second bar, feature at 32%. So we got third, if you want to look at it that way. And we have 2 schools who are, showing that they're, well, not really one really that's quite a bit above the others. And then we're a close third. So that's where we are in terms of the area schools. 32%. We are still, again, higher than the state average. The state average is 30%. So we are still above that. Math comparison. We have 26% of the the state average is 26%, we are only at 18, so that's where we're really trying to focus on. You'll see all the area schools, unfortunately, are struggling in this area. We only have one school that is above the state average. So again, an area that we all struggle in, but we are showing moving in the right direction. I didn't bring it up here, but we were at 12%, I believe, last year, and then now we're up to 18%, and so that is, showing growth. Here are some improvement strategies that we are trying. Some things have already been implemented, and as I said, some things that we're going to look into more so. So overall, department teams met to analyze the data to identify and adjust standards where scores are low. So we did that at our last SIP day. All the departments got together and we looked over all the standards. Where are our areas of strength? Where do we need to keep focusing on? What do we need to hit harder? So the department teams all highlighted and took notes and indicated what those areas were. We also increased our RTI program, which was started a couple of years ago, to 2 days a week. Before it was only 1 day a week, that wasn't enough. Now it's 2 days a week. To be honest, we still kind of don't think it's enough, so we're looking at increasing it to 3, 4, 5 times a week. The problem is we pull students, because the junior high schedule is a little bit trickier, we have to pull them out of specials. We get a lot of pushback from parents at times. They are okay with their students missing a couple of their specials. They're not always okay with missing all of their special. So it's kind of a balance, and then we don't want them to opt out completely. So then it's a matter of, do you let them pick, you can miss only 2 days or you can miss 5 days. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation, but what we were thinking about doing is for the students who are, tier 2, who are struggling a little, we can have them still have the 2 days or maybe 3 days, increase it a little bit. But for students who are really struggling, those are tier 3 students, having them miss their special entirely and meet with, our support staff for 5 days a week. We really want to push that and try to encourage students to take advantage of that. But again, not everybody is going to be on board, but it is very, important that we try to at least reach out to parents to show them and express the importance. And we do understand the importance of having electives also, but hopefully by having them for that quarter in RTI, and if they can get their scores up and they can increase their proficiency, then they can go back into their specials. So they can kind of graduate from RTI is the hope, is the goal.
What about study hall?
We do have study hall, and we have,
switching to that over specials.
We've talked about that. There are a couple barriers with doing it during study hall, but we have talked about that idea. It's a little bit less structured and more of work on what you want, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. We've kind of gone back and forth, so we are working on that too. But that would be,
And then also consider how their workload will look. Will that make it so they have more homework versus, in-school work? And then or if they're only out of the electives part-time, then are they still making up the work from the electives? Because, that creates more anxiety than needed to.
Oh, absolutely. So as a matter of fact, this year, that was another thing that I should have shared. Last year, that was the struggle because they were trying to make up that work. And we're like, those are the students who are already struggling, and now we're putting more stress on them. So this year we said it's pass-fail.
Okay.
And also it's or it's exempting the assignment.
Okay.
So if it's something that's a project, they have many weeks, they can get it done, that's fine. Give them a little extra time, extend the time if needed.
Okay.
Or if it's, assignments that are weekly, you can exempt them. Pick out what's most important, because we don't want to overload them and give them more. They're the ones who, need that sort of, I'm going to say break, but they're in RTI for a reason.
Yes, and with too much anxiety, they won't be able to gather it all in.
Absolutely. So we did do that this year. And then also we were considering we now have an EL teacher, so we were considering having, and a lot of our students who are, not scoring as high on the test, they're Spanish-speaking students, so we were considering having perhaps, instead of one of the specials, having, or even Spanish, because a lot of our students are in Spanish, I need to be in Spanish, and I know it's an easy A perhaps, but they can have possibly an EL class separate during that Spanish or that elective time, so then they can work on, basic vocabulary, parts of speech, all the things that they need to get help on, and in any subject really where they're struggling. So that's an idea that we're having to revamp the schedule for next year.
If I may.
Or even co-teaching.
Where I work, we have a really large population of ELL students. One thing that has really worked for us is those students, like, they are in a heritage class, so they learn and gain confidence with culture and things like that, but at the same time building their vocabulary skills. So that way, it's not that they're just skating through Spanish, but they're, with kids who are also English learners, and then also like raising the bar there, but then also gaining the confidence and learning more.
So it's a separate class from their Spanish class, you're saying?
So yeah, they don't have a Spanish class, they have a heritage
Oh,
class.
heritage instead of,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
they're kind of, and they're learning both English and Spanish?
They're,
sort of?
yes, so they speak their Spanish together and everything, but then they're
Okay.
also building on their English skills in it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you need any info.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. I would love to talk with
It's
you
a
more
really
about
great
that.
curriculum.
Yeah, because we even talked about, during first quarter, when we were still revamping the schedule a bit, or not revamping, but just sort of like figuring out how our EL teacher can best support us. We were talking about that, and then we thought, should we try it at semester? And we thought, maybe we should
Yeah.
look into that for next year.
It's quite a switch, yeah, but if you need, it
Yeah,
was really
that's
cool. They even had like a music day, and we have a lot of kids who play the guitar or whatever with their families, and they came in and we all sat and listened to them sing together, and it was so cool.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Love that. And cross-curricular instruction is another thing that we talked about even at our staff meeting today. How can math and ELA skills be incorporated into all of our other subject matters? We know that science, there's a lot of math that goes into science. We know that when they're working on math, they're doing extended responses. How can all of our specials classes and all of our classes aside from ELA and math, how can they all be supported to increase our scores?
Yeah, we use writing across the board, and I mean, clearly our scores are, but we have a different population, but it really does help our writing skills.
Yeah, and we even said for extended responses, it doesn't have to be every day. We know that you have all of the the standards that you have to meet in your classes, but even if you did it once a week, every other week, and even just a paragraph, and you have to write 5-paragraph essays, but what can you do to incorporate writing so they're getting a better handle on that? And also, we're going to administer one IAR test per day this year rather than 2. We used to do one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and we would do it for 3 days. This year, we're going to try to do just one, so we're going to do it over the course of 6 days and see if that kind of helps, because by the time the afternoon comes, the kids are kind of pooped. It's a lot for them. And a lot of distractions at lunch, and they're just fresher in the morning. They just do better, so we're going to try and see how that goes.
And the heat in the afternoon.
Right, that's true. And then math specifically, we have done a few things this year. We have separated that our 8th grade group. We have a handful of students who are Tier 3 students. They're not necessarily in special services, but they just need a lot of extra support. So we are now for second semester, taking those students in a small group and having a separate teacher work with them. So hopefully that will be very beneficial. And I happened to observe, do a classroom observation, and in walking around, I thought, wow, we just have a lot of, and sometimes it's the dynamic of the class. You just happen to have a lot of students who are struggling in certain classes. So I think that's going to be really beneficial to get that more one-on-one group time with those students. Also, we were considering we're going to network with area schools to discuss the new math series adoption as the elementary. As Ms. Black stated, we're up for renewal for an adoption, for 24-25 school year. So, not just us looking and researching, but what are the other schools using, especially those top performing schools? What do they like about their series? What do they not like about it? And we know that it's just a resource, but it is, has a lot of great materials that are out there that we can kind of use to see if they'll work for us. And then working on more word problems and extended responses for problem solving. And then for ELA, just a few more things that we are exploring a lot. Writing continued to come up. And it wasn't, and we can always say, you don't have the skills from elementary, but it's us too. It's what are they lacking when they come to us, and then what can we do to help support them, and then what can we do to make sure our students are ready for high school, right? So it's not, they're not ready. It's what can we all do to help support each other. So we are talking about exploring potentially a K-8 or a district-wide writing program to make sure that we are getting enough time in for writing and making sure that our students are more proficient, because that will carry over to all the other subjects and areas. And then Wordly Wise workbooks. So Wordly Wise, we used to do workbooks, and then we moved online, and now we're back to considering going back to workbooks, because I don't know how familiar, I see people shaking their heads. It's a lot to navigate. So you're almost like focusing on the navigation and the different issues that are coming about, and it's just more difficult in general, and it's already very tricky. The students really struggle, especially in 6th grade. It is a huge shift from 5th to 6th for wordly wise. And again, specifically for, you know, the students coming from the work, they're used to using the workbooks. Then they come to the junior high, it's harder, and we're going online. So a lot of the teachers expressed, at least in 6th and 7th grade, that maybe it would be a good idea to go back to workbooks. So that's definitely something that we're going to consider. And that is everything. Did anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a quick side note, Dr. Posney, and this is just a safety concern. I know with the high school sports over at the junior high, and I was tootling through town coming through, and there was a home game.
Girls basketball.
There are so many people parking along the drive. God forbid, if there is an emergency, not one emergency vehicle can get through.
Oh, wow.
I'm throwing it out there.
And I've been guilty of it myself, because, you know, at pickup, you line up there. So I think when people are picking up for sports as well, you line up in the drive. And
People
now,
just park
and
there.
then
They're
with,
parking there,
well,
and
with beach or rec basketball, we get into the habit then too, that we park along the drive, you know, so I feel like there's no division. And yes, people, I just saw people would park throughout there too, and the bus from the other team.
I'm glad you shared that, because I'm usually inside. I don't really see what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Okay,
just,
we'll have to make sure
it's just
that
a
we
safety
get
concern. 'cause
Absolutely.
But that's breaking a community there, I don't know. Yeah, maybe a sign, but people don't read signs.
Yeah, I'm
No,
about
they
to say. Because you know what you do, that's not changing.
Even the drive here at the high school is one way coming
Yeah.
south.
Oh my gosh.
So many people are coming in off of
Whatever,
Miller
there's another
and pulling right
team
in here. I'm
coming,
like,
everybody's
there's signs
coming
right
this way.
there, not an entrance,
Doesn't mean.
exit only, and people still do it. So it's just a safety concern. But
But there's not,
even on the
they can't
curve.
park on Cardinal Drive or anything like that. There's really not enough
There
parking
is.
over there.
Right.
I mean, there
Yeah.
really isn't.
Oh, I agree.
I
Like they can park in the other, yeah, the staff lodge.
Staff
But I
lodge.
personally avoid that at all
They
costs.
probably don't even see it maybe.
But usually like
I have
that's
a
for the
problem.
other buses and stuff like that. But I've been to games and both lots are full, everything's lined up, and then people are just like driving in circles looking.
I know,
It's
it's
just
small.
so small, especially having high school go over there now.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can only imagine.
And
I
they've already
understand
said
what
to
it's gonna
limit
be
the
like.
amount of people even coming,
Yeah.
you know, and consider
I
that.
understand, but it's still a safety
Yeah,
issue.
Yeah,
Wholeheartedly.
I don't know, something to think about.
Those are only away fans, by the way, parking there. It's definitely not.
Definitely not.
Hate to disagree with
Definitely
you.
not. Away for rec too.
I tried.
Yeah. I didn't know we had away games from rec.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we were just talking about that. We had, we're hosting the campus basketball tournament, and it was supposed to be at the high school, and now it's gonna be at our
Oh my
school.
goodness.
We're like, what are we gonna do with parking? And we were already panicking.
People have parked along the
Yeah.
Cardinal Creek Drive before, they
Or
have.
maybe just talk to the ambulance about jumping the curb. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like,
We're having
Right.
you can
concert
drive into the
that
park
says-
there, there is like a vehicle, like recess in the curb. So maybe even if there's like a plan in case, like, so that something, that they have an entrance to that side door, you know? I'm just thinking in a case of emergency, because I don't know if you can change everybody.
Is this a school
Yeah,
day? Or is it Saturday? Is it
it's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just the plan then, is to have, you know, talk to the EMTs and everything about a backup, but I don't know. I don't know how, if you can stop it.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Some other
certainly try
people
and
park
invite
like in
them
the empty part in between the two parts of the main lot. I might do that.
Maybe.
Cones, people see
Go when
cones.
Mr. Meyer did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cones could work, so at least there's a spot, you know? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mr. Meyer,
All right.
let's do it.
Mr. Meyer.
I'm excited.
You comfortable?
Best news in the last. I'm sorry. Okay, so I kind of ran off Dr. Gaham's before and just added last year's stuff. So it looks like, no, it doesn't look like, it is 18 and 19 we went off is these numbers.
for the ELA, math, and graduation. This is just SAT, we don't have the IAR at the high school. So, but 21 and 22, we took from the college board, and I'll show you a little bit later, kind of the ISB scores from other schools, but I can only get this from the college board, our top 2 numbers.
Are these
Like-
PSATs on? Or
No, this is SAT. This is the
SAT.
actual SAT
The actual
scores.
SAT,
Correct.
The answer to that is yes.
Oh,
They
it's
take-
a senior,
They
I'm
take
sorry.
a PSAT, the beginning of their junior year, and
Yes.
then they take it again
Yes.
in the spring, and that's the comparison. That's the
Okay.
growth they look at.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike.
No. So, one of the things is obviously looking at our, and I've discussed it since I've been at the junior high. One of the things is our math just doesn't seem to go up. And again, these are juniors, this is one class, and then next year we'll have different juniors, the following year, different juniors. So I may do a little something different because we're comparing, we're not comparing the same kids. So, right, wrong, and different, whatever. Moving up the food chain, we've got some ideas, we've talked, I'll get to that, but to tell you the continual, math is, like was said earlier, math needs to be repetition every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. And Mrs. Black talked about stamina. And, during COVID, we didn't probably do as much math as we should. Last year, a full year back in, it was difficult to get them to work through the school day. I don't know. I don't want to sit up here and give excuses either. Our numbers aren't where they need to be, but we need to come around and figure it out, and they need to take it, I think, a little bit more seriously. I think some of the motivation that we have is different now. I think when colleges and universities say, we don't care about your SAT scores, and we just want you or your money or whatever, and then that's fine. And maybe that means a lot to some parents, that we want our kids to try, and others it may not be. I think this year I found out the number of KACC students that want to go and that want to get into the trades is overwhelming. And college maybe isn't that, so do I care about an SAT test or an ISA test? I don't know. I like the right number,
They don't.
where we're graduating 93% or 91%, or it should be higher, it should be 97%, it should be 90, whatever. But I know those numbers were there before, and I think we can get back to the graduation with a couple supplementary things that we're doing. But I don't know. I don't know if it's motivation. Excuse me. I still think we've got good teachers. I think we've got most of the kids try. And I think when it comes down to the graduation rate and getting your credits and getting out of here and going to something that now you're motivated for, I think is the big picture. But I understand, I'm not a, God forbid that you would ever, I'm not a, this test score, or this score is an end-all be-all. It's not for me. I know it is for our community because we want parents to come here that have good schools. I get it. And when you look at that number, that's probably not the number that ooh, wow, this is a great school. But I think there's more to it than a March 23rd one test. But with these guys right here, look at the leadership now is different, so it's going to be way better coming up. I just got to finish it off, okay? So it's going to get better, I'm telling you. Around here with our scores, I said like the 15%. So the ISB numbers, we are low in math compared to, Central, compared to Moments, compared to Piatone. When I was at the junior high, we were always in the top 4 or 5. The same thing when Dr. Kwasny's there. We've been in the top group, especially ELA. We've always been in the top group. We're still there today. We've got a couple schools, the Mantinos and Piatones, that are better than us in ELA. But again, we've got to get our math kind of situated. One of the things I do think that we are doing correctly is bringing that 6th grade teacher up to the junior high. I think when we had 2 math teachers at the junior high, it was 6 for Hilger and 8 for Fan and split 7. Mm-hmm. I think that's tough. And also something that we did here that Dr. Gaham started, and we're trying to complete that this year with English. But I think with one teacher teaching the information, I think it's better. I think we're going to improve. But again, on the left-hand side, those math scores, again, aren't where they need to be. ELA has always been good in the junior high. We had 2 periods you had a reading and an English, so you had you almost had an hour and a half of English, where you're only getting 45 minutes of math. That's just how we work things. Again, Dr. Kwasny will make these numbers change, and I am so thankful. So, our science assessment. We're proficient, we're above the state level, so I'm proud of that. I'm also the fact that I think it makes a huge difference that the SAT and the ISA are 11th graders. So when it was when it was biology, the students were biology, okay, you still had physics questions, you had chemistry questions, you didn't even have that class yet. How are you supposed to answer these questions?
Right.
So I think now that they are testing juniors, I think we should be proficient, and we are above the state average. The junior high was above the state average. We've done a consistent job in the science assessment category for as many years as I can think of. We've never had concerns.
And even with our low math scores, it's still commendable.
It is.
No
And all
extra
schools
funds.
are. And all schools are. We are, we're across the board, we are a commendable school district. This Edgenuity, this is the supplemental thing that, okay, so maybe looking at the big picture, the thing is about what our goal is at the high school is to graduate kids. That's what we want. We want to graduate, go in society, be productive citizens. And again, they may not try on all the tests, they may not do everything, but we're going to get where we need to be. So last year, we gave out 27 credits. In terms of 19 students, didn't do the work over COVID or before or whatever, and Mr. Sarsny is doing a nice job working with students senior-wise and some of the underclassmen that aren't at grade level per se. You need 6 credits each year to be able to move up from a freshman to sophomore to junior, senior, etc. So again, the summer of 2020, 30, again, we've got a lot this year. The goal is not to have as many, but we are going to do what we need to do for kids that need help. And whatever that is, if that's, something happened during the school year, we've had issues with, whatever, anxiety, mental health, whatever it is, it's a case-by-case scenario that we're going to work with students because, again, the bottom line is we need to graduate, do the right thing because you still have to do the class, do the right thing, graduate, and be productive. So, Mr. Sarsny with this does a nice job, like I said, helps with credits. Also, Ms. Snyder has been helping out. I know Dr. Kwasny talked about Ms. Snyder helping out at the junior high too. It's our first year trying to figure things out, but she is pulling during study hall for credit recovery kids that are ELL. And so, again, may not have the individual background, but she's willing to. Bottom line, some of these kids, when they leave here, they're not doing anything. So if we can get them here and get them an extra 25 minutes or an extra whatever in study hall and a pull out to get them to do their work, to get them to do this. Some had all summer to do it. That worked out well for some. No, sorry, sarcasm. It did not. So we are going to do what we can do in school because we know we've got them. We know as soon as they walk out the doors, they've got jobs, they've got lives, they've got family, they got a lot of things like we all do. So, but Mr. Sarsny and Ms. Snyder hopefully moving in the right direction. Okay, here's for some things that we are doing and will do. So second year, Dr. Gaham started with the math department. So Ms. Chauvin, Mr. McCord, Ms. Payne. So we've got Ms. Chauvin teaching algebra for the freshmen. And then, algebra 1. And then AP. We've got McCord with the geometry and a stats class. Ms. Payne has all algebra 2 and teen. So again, we've got one teacher teaching all that. So you can't, that's who you have. I think the consistency is great. This is the first year that we have restructured the English department. Last year was difficult, was unique. So we now have a new, so I moved some people around. So Ms. Mahoney is our new teacher. She is teaching all freshman English and part of the sophomore world lit along with Ms. Serta. Ms. Serta has the seniors. And then Mrs. Lucia has all our juniors. I think this is going to absolutely make a huge difference. Just with the preparation of the junior class. I think things will be better. I think our PSAT scores that we took in the fall are already better than the 15% in math. We were already up into the 20s, and English I think is was it 29, and we're again I say this and then Obama, but our PSAT scores for these juniors are better than what we've had in the past. But again, that's this set. Now what about next year's? But again, if we can work on some of the things that we're doing, I think we'll be all right. And I like the reorganization. I like the shuffle of consistency of teachers. We had vertical alignment. We're trying to work on that. I know some people don't like it, but I do believe it's important. We did it today in our second half of our Teacher Institute. Again, new 11th grade curriculum. This is what Mrs. Lucia just cleaned up. So now we have a dedicated PSAT, SAT instruction built in. It wasn't that way. So she refocused the 11th grade curriculum. She's also doing ELA mini SAT preps. I understand we have to do well on these tests. I understand it makes us look good and makes us look bad. But I also want to make sure that we're not all about, okay, now we're just going to push everything into tests, because we got to have test scores. I need the curriculum taught. I need a well-rounded student. I want good things across the board. But I know we need to do better. I understand that, so we're trying to get a balance of SAT prep, PSAT stuff, but also the curriculum of reading and writing and everything else. Same thing with math, dedicated SAT prep instructions, 1 time a week, where she implemented that this year. This is Miss Payne. SAT problems on chapter tests, mini stuff, working through a new textbook. So they got a new textbook in 2021. Okay, again, textbook doesn't teach math, but it is different for all of us to get used to, and so hopefully that's something that, again, we will work out, clean up, and do better there. Full practice math tests, Mrs. Chauvin said, basically I have put like 7 College Board practice tests in Google Classroom. They have access to it all the time. We take I don't know if she said we take periods or we take parts of periods, and we work on these things together, and we work on these things together, and we work on these things. So there is stuff in their Google Classroom that they could do more if they wanted to, but it is in there. Outward I/O is an SAT kind of prep. I think I even wrote about it in my board report. Our usage is up from last year. It's like we had 28,000 tries. This year, at the same time, I just got off the phone with Connor. We had 28,000 at that time. Now we're at 38,000. Again, doesn't mean everything is great, but the fact that we are pushing kids to do SAT prep, and it even works for core, so it's not just for SAT prep. But and Joe even said today, Mr. Duncan, we've got a ton of tools. Now we just got to utilize them, make them efficient, make kids want to try and use them. And last thing, and I think Dr. Gaham said that, I think a lot of us say that, IAR test, everything else, at least SAT, it's 1 day in the lives of students.
Yep.
Actually, it's 2, because we do the SAT 1 day, and then it could be 3, sorry. PSAT, SAT, ISA. Again, I know they're important, and maybe I need to change my mindset, but when we do the ISA test, there are 3 tests. We do them in 1 morning. I would rather do them in 1 morning, they're 45 minutes apiece, we take the morning, then again, and I don't like to use the word waste, but I don't really want and again, maybe our test scores would go up, and maybe that's something I should do. But I would prefer to get back to the classroom content and take the tests and do what we can, and then move on to what I, again, not saying I'm right, what I think is more important. So, that's what I have.
I think by high school too, the kids that are not, they're gonna walk in there and they're not going to try. They're not going to do it, and there's not much you can do with that. I mean, you can do as much as you can, but that's a difference. And so in high school, they have the stamina to sit there. They have it. And if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it.
Correct.
It's just the drive.
Correct.
It's the drive.
And some of those kids that walk into, and Mrs. Lucia's one, she's great, but she gets upset when the KACC kids come back about 10 minutes into her class. They're wasting 10 minutes of my time. But also they're going, and again, I know, I'm sorry, but I know that what's important to them is on that bus down in Kankakee. Sorry about writing an essay and getting a 4 or a 5. That's not important to them. And it's hard as a teacher. My class is important. It is. But their focus is on doing
Their
that.
career.
They just want to get through and get their business done. They're still good kids.
Yeah.
And I said, just do the best you can with them. Still work with them, still do whatever. But
My husband knew he was gonna be an electrician. When he took the SAT, like that they know, and
I always
sometimes
told
they're
my
already
kids,
decided.
please take it seriously.
just try.
I know.
That's all I want.
Please take
Just
it
try.
seriously.
And the
there's
teachers
always that
beg 'em
don't.
too.
Try.
So,
But
Yeah.
it's
Some do,
whatever.
some don't.
It's whatever. So, but I do think, though, that some of these institutions that don't take the SAT and don't think it's important, if it's Illinois or it's Iowa, whatever, Wisconsin, whatever it is, but you do well, absolutely submit those, because I think that score may be the difference between you getting in and somebody else that didn't submit theirs. I think that's just another check mark. Hey, look what I got. I got 1,500, or I got 1,700, compared to.
Yeah, and it goes a lot for scholarship
Agreed.
consideration as well.
Mhm. So, I don't know, great leadership coming up, great leadership
Oh,
at the
you're
top.
doing great, too.
We're gonna make it work. I
Oh,
promise.
you are
So the
appreciated.
Yes.
Albert IO, is
Yes.
that something that they can do? Are they doing in school or is this
Yes,
out of school
they do in school, so it's
or-
like we are, this year is the blue, and I'm not saying you can see this, but this year's the blue. Last year was the red, so every month we have had more attempts in these classes. And again, December and May, that's like semester test type, so they give you some practice tests, they give you some things to do. But for the most part, every month we have done better. And it talks about, he just went through some of the student engagement, 234 students, not everybody uses it. Pav likes AP Classroom instead of, what am I missing? He likes instead of what? No, I'm sorry, Pav likes AP Classroom when the other ones use, and it might be Albert IO. And so just there's certain teachers that choose, they'd rather have these resources. So not everybody uses it, but I don't know. And again, when he talks to me about it, he's like, okay, the top subjects that are using it are reading, SAT reading, the Crucible, SAT writing, and AP English language. Leveled readings. We almost have 7,000 hits, 7,000 attempts. So again, I don't know if, he said where you are right now is you are, and again, I don't know if he's just feeding us so we can continue to buy it, but he's like, you in your area, you are using it as much, if not more, than everybody else. Again, right or wrong, but the guy seems to be legit. But we've got 4 classes in math, we've got 11 classes in ELA college usage, so we're doing it for everybody, core and college kids. So to tell you I have a huge grasp of this, I don't, but he was pleased with what we're doing. And there's a huge library, and so to answer your question, I think that yes, they would have access to it as long as their teacher uses it. They have access to anything in the whole library. Spanish, he was telling me about Spanish and stuff too that we don't even use. So it's out there. Again, but you got to figure out what's good, what's going to work, and what people are going to buy in on, and really, because our teachers got to buy into it first before the kids.
And you gotta make it valuable. You can't have a whole bunch of different programs. It's gotta be valuable, yeah.
So that's what I know.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Mr. Meyer.
Thank you. Thank
Doing
you.
great.
Dr. Gahan, did you like this, young man? Oh, I didn't know if you had any idea your.
Oh, I don't know.
We would like a PowerPoint.
Of course.
You get plenty of PowerPoints.
You have the floor.
Okay. So I want to thank the 3 principals for putting those together. One of the things I did ask them to do, and I think they accomplished it, was we all know the scores are not where we want them to be. That's 100% true. But what I asked them to do is come here and tell us what they're going to do about it, not just tell you, well, the scores are bad, it was a bad day, it was a bad year, we have COVID, boo-hoo-hoo. So I think all 3 of them have put forth a plan, or at least describe to you guys their plan moving forward, how they're going to address these things. And one of the things I like that all 3 of them did not say, which was said by, I was in a seminar 5 years ago, I was an assistant principal at the time, and the top growth Illinois school principal came to talk to our school. And they said, hey, why did you have the most growth of any school in the state of Illinois? You spent the year teaching to the test. All we did. Really? Yep, that's all we did. We had the highest growth in scores because all we cared about was our reading and our math scores. Nothing else was taught. But hey, they got themselves a blue ribbon. To me, I don't like that. The other thing I don't like about the scores, and I've been quoted now in the paper twice, and I'm sure the vedette will pick me up this 3rd time as well. It's very difficult as a superintendent or any school leader when you tell me the state average on a test is 30% of kids can pass it.
Yep. Right.
I'm sorry. I will defend kids to the end of the day, and then if that's what you tell me, the state averages that only 30% of the kids in the state of Illinois can pass the test.
Well, as I said, our math scores are 12% were commendable. so we get no additional resources, like, that's crazy. That 12% of your kids are proficient.
And what was
And
the
it's
state?
good.
The states are like 20, 27, 28.
If that happened in class, we would have to look at our assessment.
Correct. So, but again, I don't work for the state. They haven't yelled at me yet for making that quote. Maybe the third time when the vet quotes me, I'll get in trouble finally with the state. But
Get
that's just a kind of a little thing to put in the back of your mind. So yes, we understand the scores are bad, but all three of them do have a plan in place to get those things adjusted. What I actually am going to talk about here for my part of my report is to tell the public about an update in terms of the high school. If you didn't see the video, well, if you didn't see the Facebook and other posts that we made the 26th of December, and then I put a video, I think, on the 27th of December from Mr. Meyer's office, because mine was under construction as well. On Christmas night, we had a 4-inch water pipe release from its clasp. The clasp broke is really what happened. So it's a 25-year-old clasp. You have, I'm telling you guys, water always wins. Look at the Grand Canyon, y'all. That was formed by water. Oh, by the way, sorry. Second note, those presentations will be on the website. I'll have Mr. Duncan put those 3 presentations on the website for everybody. So water will always win. So when you have a 4-inch pipe with constant pressure, and over 20 years, something bad will happen to buildings. So that's what happened. We had a 4-inch pipe that was had a link on it. That link broke. 4 inches of pipe just decided to start shooting water directly into the hallway between. Mr. Meyer, if I don't call it the den every time, I apologize. I understand. Mr. Meyer now calls the new gym the den. Good for it. That's what we want because that's where we play, and that is the old gym. So in the near future, if I call that the den and correct myself, I'm sorry. So between the den and the cafeteria, we had a 4-inch pipe burst and just started spraying water. And that water went all the way from there to the science wing. Actually, right behind where Mr. Mazurek is sitting, we had water down to the main office. We had 60% of this high school covered in water. And when I say covered, the den had 2 to 2 inches of water deep across the whole thing. And then the old gym had about 1 inch of water. There was also some secondary pipes, just because of how cold it was. They did crack, and there was some leak over there. But that was not the overall cause. I mean, it's 4-inch pipe that caused all this issues. Christmas night, Mr. Stanula came out here. We had ServPro on site, and they worked from Christmas night, and they're actually still on site as of today, cleaning up. If you were a board member and you walked through here, it kind of looked like an overgrown gerbil place because they had huge dehumidifiers coming through here. So over the next few weeks, they just basically dried out the entire area. As I've said in my reports, and I sent a message out to our high school families, there were major damage areas where the den. If you go into the den right now, there's actually a 10-inch hump right in the middle because of the warping of the wood. And the old gym, we don't have the hump warping, but obviously all the boards have since warped. And if you walk on it, it kind of feels like you're walking on, you can literally feel the edge of the boards. So both gyms are destroyed. The cafeteria, the bathrooms, the kitchen, and the cafeteria itself, all of that, the flooring has been removed or is being removed currently. Water underneath there. And again, water into glue, can't dry out cleanly. And the music room. That carpet was soaked and wet. So they tore that out. That's getting replaced over the next few weeks. So where does that put us right now? Well, the gyms are going to start getting removed, cleaned up probably by the end of this week. Right now they're working on the cafeteria, the kitchen, and the bathroom to make sure that can be taken care of. They're going to sand that down over the next 2 days. They're going to put a nice epoxy floor on there that's going to be very, very good for cleaning and a lot more sanitary. So that's going to be taken care of by the end of the week. Right now our kitchen / cafeteria is the old gym. So if you were to walk in there, you would see the serving line and you would see the lunchroom tables. Kids can walk on it. They're not going to trip. They just can't run. And our kitchen kind of right now is the concession area and the maintenance office. So we have a makeshift kitchen. Everything's going to work the way it's supposed to work starting tomorrow. So kids are going to get fed. There's not going to be any kind of concern. And then they're going to finish that up. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. The biggest outplacement is the PE classes, as we've heard. This upcoming week, we're not taking them anywhere. We're kind of using this week to kind of catch everything up, make sure they're ready to go. And then next week, Mr. Meyer's going to be working with a few, with Zion, and actually Mr. Hernandez has offered up his place as well. We're going to start maybe busing kids, maybe not every day, every period, but at least get them out there to do some kind of aerobic activity, at least walk around, things like that. If it's nice outside, you can guarantee they're going to go outside. So high schoolers, if it's 45 degrees, bring a sweatshirt, y'all are walking outside.
I said
It is.
40 in the email I sent.
Yeah.
Ooh, 40?
I did say,
Yeah, we can play baseball in 40.
I like it.
Yeah,
In snow, yeah.
I like it.
That'll be fine.
So those are the kind of things that are going to be planned. Mr. Meyer is going to make sure that the students are aware of what's going on and keep them informed. So that's kind of where we're at with the high school. You'll have zero instructional interference. As I told Ms. Brennan-Stahl, my goal for 2023 is the silver lining. I'm going to try my best, and I said in my video, my job is now to be the positive. I got to make sure, the positive thing is, this happened over break. We got doggone lucky, because if it happened during the school year, I would have shut this place down for 2 weeks. We got it over break, and it stinks that it happened to us, but at the end of the day, kids aren't going to miss anything instructional, and we're going to get 2 brand new gyms and some really nice flooring out of it at minimal cost to the district. And so those are things that's a good way to look at it. So that's kind of where we're at with everything. Again, as I get more information, I'm not hiding anything. It took me a few days to hear from an assessor. That's why it wasn't anything between the 27th and today. So it's just, they're drying out and they're removing stuff. So it is what it is. So, any other questions for me?
And thank you for your work in all of this, because I know that greatly affected your holiday.
I had all of this white hair before it started.
Awesome. And thanks to Mr. Stanula.
Mr. Stanula,
And, yeah, like,
Yep.
he came out that night that we
Yep.
thought the roof was going off. He came out at 10:30 and then gave up Christmas and everything,
And
so,
then Christmas night.
yes.
And I think it's, should be noted that an alarm went off and this was handled right away.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It didn't
Yeah.
go for a long time.
From when, and that's why I said some people heard, well, you said 3 hours, it took the rest.
Right.
No, from when the alarm went off and it burst to where ServPro was on site was less than 3 hours. And so, and think of how much that was in that time, so.
And the alarm went off, people were here.
Yep.
So
at the end of the
Rumor mill.
day, you, Stanula, and all the team, they did
Yeah.
a wonderful job. Let's
Well, it's Mr. Snula and Eric from ServPro's been great. Gallagher's been great when we contacted them, so yeah, appreciate that.
So I know we're focused on, making sure the kids are not interrupting their classroom day, but do we have any news what's going on for any extracurriculars such as dances?
Yep,
and
so the big one.
Homecoming this week?
Yep, so the big one everybody obviously wants to know about is homecoming. So the homecoming game, if you will. By the way, Mr. Palin has been phenomenal at Grant Park. I know some of our scores were better than theirs. Some of theirs were better than ours, but that was a fluke. So the homecoming game itself is going to be played at Grant Park that's Moments, right? We are going to host the homecoming dance at the community center, and that's going to go
We think 9 to 11.
9 to 11.
But that's not confirmed yet.
Right.
That
So
night?
That night.
Right.
So we're gonna, obviously, we'll have a supervision there. The team, when they get back, can obviously attend as soon as they can. They may not be there at 9, probably close to 9:30, but at least kids will be able to get in there and have a good time. I've heard a question about graduation. I have every intention of having the den done by graduation time. One of the gyms will be available, and if that one's not, we'll find a plan B. I promise you, kids will have a graduation this year. It won't be Atlanta Christian, I promise. Even though they were really nice to us. In terms of other dances and things like that, I don't think there's anything planned right now, but
Everything gets done. Like, we wanted to get homecoming because that's what we tried.
Yeah.
So the community center's been very supportive. Again, Mr. Stanula helped us with that situation.
Yeah.
We're still in the talks with Mr. Waterman on, he asked some questions. I haven't even talked, we've been emailing back and forth with the cheerleading coaches, but I got a little confirmation today at like 4:30 about some questions that we had. So tomorrow, hopefully, everything will be finalized. Now, the attire and all the spirit days, that's all good. We will not do the class clash until we get a gym, but all those points, all that stuff, whatever they do this week, we'll will flow, hopefully maybe before break, it might be after break, but we would still like to do all that class flash stuff.
Are we offering any kind of, like spirit or pet buses since the kids can't come locally to the games if we're using other people's gyms to?
As of right now, we're only having the moments, that's going to be, we feel, right now, they're, I offend anybody, they're the biggest rival within our conference right now, so we didn't think that that would be enough room. So far, the other schools, but again, it's been great. We haven't had a bunch of students show up, so we will find out, but as of right now, that's the only game off campus that we have scheduled.
Okay. So the other ones, there's not enough room, or?
Yeah, and for the most part, as I think Janet may have said, we've asked the other team if you could minimize how many people you're coming
Yes,
out.
and we've also gone to, I don't know what the, Mr. Du Bois looked into I don't know what system it is that you have to buy a ticket online or whatever that system is, because that unfortunately, when those walk-ups come up, it's like, sorry, we need this because we have a small gym. It is irritating, and I know some people have not been very happy about that, but.
Is this specifically for the homecoming game, or what?
In general.
In general, okay.
We've been fortunate so far because we haven't had a huge student section because we've been on break, but there may be.
The
a
Grant
couple
Park gym is
non-conference games.
huge.
We've moved non-conference, so we've moved some of our non-conference games we were supposed to have here, we flipped, and then next year, we're just gonna have
A whole
we're
bunch.
going to have a lot of home games.
And I can assure you, I mean, I know nobody thinks this way, but we didn't do this on purpose. We're making the absolute best of a really bad situation. We understand that that gym's not the best for varsity sports. Option B is we're going somewhere else. I mean, it's a
You're
bad
doing the best that you-
situation.
but you're doing the best that you
Correct,
can.
so
Yeah.
I don't want people to think that Brandon and I'm sorry, Mr. Du Bois, Mr. Meyer are like, well, thank goodness this happened to us. That's not even close to the truth. They really are making the best of a really bad situation.
And we are promoting our YouTube channel, so we don't have Huddle, because we can't take that over there, but we're doing like what we did with COVID and having our
Right.
iPad there with the YouTube channel, so if you're up on that, you can watch the game. So
Are
we're trying.
cheerleaders still cheering at the games?
So far, they've been at the home games. cheering
Because
on the
I'm
sidelines,
assuming
yes.
then there's going to be no pep band.
Correct, that's something that but we're talking with Mr. Hodak about what we can do
I
about
told
that.
him no. I told him initially no because there's no room.
No
And he
room.
came back, well, maybe we can have a smaller one. And
Yeah.
but that's up to Mr. Hodak, as long as he's still practicing, and he said maybe we can do some other things later. But that's what I said, you're gonna have that little corner on the southeast side of the gym, that's really all where and you're gonna have 5 people come play pep band?
Right.
I mean, I don't know, that's up to
But
him.
then I also understand there's also instrument damage
So,
in
yes.
the
Primarily it was
band
the
room.
marching band, the very old marching band stuff. Nothing that was relatively new has been damaged, but they are sending some stuff out. We're gonna get that looked into.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, the pep band, yes, it's not ideally. but-
It's not
but we're looking-
conducive.
But he said, maybe we can do something else. We can have a pep band night, or something like that, where they can still practice, and they can do, he's thinking about it. It's back in his.
Okay.
Okay.
Could be the February 13th board meeting. We might have a pet band.
You know what, I would love to have a pep band.
That's awesome. Every board meeting, please. I'll pick a walk-up song. Right?
Mr. Peters will be going, what? Anything else for me?
hysterical.
Thank you.
No.
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to committee updates. In finance, Ms. Paulmeyer.
We had a finance committee meeting last week. It's on the agenda for today for the April election for yet another referendum at a lower rate. But we'll discuss that then.
Yep.
That was the gist.
Okay. Sounds good. Negotiations, Mr. Herman?
Negotiations are moving along fine. I think we're getting close, and we would like to go into executive session at some time to discuss with the whole board.
Okay. Sounds good. No items for old business. New business. Employment. Do we need any background info on that? Any questions? All right.
Just for clarification, number 2, the long-term substitute, Lori Grusing, is currently in the position of Becky Goodwin. By law, she can't be there more than 120 days without offering her a contract. She is a certified teacher, so we're gonna offer her the contract to finish out the school year. So that's why she is on the hiring.
Okay.
It's not somebody new, it's someone who's been there for the whole year.
Okay.
It's better than switching out a teacher.
That is 100% true.
All right, so I need a motion to accept Jada Schrader as volunteer junior high volleyball coach.
So,
Second?
Palmer,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Missouri,
yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Paplas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I need a motion to accept the employment of Lori Grusing as an elementary school long-term substitute teacher for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Flores,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Abstain.
Pappas,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
motion carried.
Good to have her.
Is that technically still considered a long-term sub?
Well, it would, she would actually be put in as a certified teacher for the remainder of the school year, yeah.
Yeah, so it would, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then moving on to seniority list, any questions there?
Yeah, there's only one teacher that doesn't have her grade levels listed.
Oh, I did see that when we went in. Or what they can teach.
Yep.
I figured it was just a typo.
She's good on years 7.
They sign off on these, so.
See it?
Oh, this one right here.
Yep.
I can make sure that gets added.
Okay.
It would be, secondary education is gonna be 912. So the clarification, that would be a 912 position. I will have that added.
Okay, thank you for
Thanks for catching that.
that.
You're welcome.
I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 seniority list with that added.
Amended.
So moved.
Second.
Belt,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Flores. Yes. Motion carried.
All right, Valor Technologies invoice.
That is the last, no. That is,
What?
that is the last abatement invoice we'll have to pay. So that's they finally resolved the change order. Ideal sided with the district on that decision, so we now got the final bill. There it is. We're done.
So I need a motion to approve the payment of invoice 28533 in the amount of $22,235 payable to Valor Technologies Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Missouri,
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, and then we are in the section for limiting rate resolution to add to the 2023 ballot. So I need a motion to approve the limiting rate resolution as presented and add to the April 2023 ballot.
So moved.
Second.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Harmon,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Flores,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Alrighty. And then we are going to move to executive session for
ILCS 120-2C versions 1, 2, 6, and 10.
for that. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Harmon,
Yes.
Pappas,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Flores, Belt,
Yes.
Missouri,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Any other discussion items?
Future meetings, you have your negotiation meeting Thursday.
Thursday.
And then
January
he had-
12th, which is also
He
my
had said at the last, facility, or negotiating and finance meeting, we need a transportation meeting sometime this month too, right? To discuss buses, remember?
Yes, we do.
So sometime we do need to plan our schedule.
That's
Is it
one, right?
3:15 or 3:30?
1,
okay.
3:15.
We wanted it after,
3:50, excuse me.
If you can,
3:10,
and then I will be following up with Dr. Gaham with the solar people, also for facilities, but I don't know how soon that will happen, but that's out there. Next board meeting is February 13th. Any items to add? Okay, I just need a motion.
The Beecher Education Foundation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Beecher, yes, February 8th?
Oh,
17th, 18th.
all right,
Maybe we
which
need
is
to
it?
Be right.
18. It is the
18?
18th.
Okay.
At 6 p.m.
Beecher Education
Six.
Foundation
You can
dinner.
buy tickets online.
It's
Oh,
bad.
that's
Where's it gonna
nice.
be this year?
Ravislow Country Club.
Ravislow.
All right. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Great to